Niccolò Machiavelli taught that true power does not belong to those who are merely strong or merely clever. It belongs to those who can adapt. To survive and dominate in a world ruled by ambition and deceit, one must learn to be as cunning as a fox and as fearless as a lion. The fox detects traps. The lion crushes threats. Only the leader who can shift between wisdom and strength, deception and courage, can truly control their destiny. Balance between fear and love stands as one of the most delicate yet powerful ideas in Machiavelli's philosophy. He observed that every ruler, no matter how virtuous or feared, depends on the loyalty of others to maintain stability. But loyalty is fragile, influenced by emotions, interests, and circumstances. Machiavelli argued that while it is ideal for a leader to be both loved and feared, if one must choose, it is safer to be feared. Yet he did not mean fear born from cruelty. He meant the kind of fear that commands respect, the awareness that disobedience carries real consequences. Love, while valuable, is tied to personal gain and fades in times of danger. Fear, when justly managed, endures longer and holds people accountable. This balance is not about choosing one extreme over the other, but knowing how to maintain both forces in harmony. A leader who seeks only love risks becoming weak, manipulated by the affection or opinions of others. One who relies only on fear becomes a tyrant, isolated and despised. The art of leadership lies in combining the warmth of compassion with the authority of power. People must feel that their leader cares for their welfare, but they must also believe he is capable of enforcing order when necessary. Machiavelli understood that human nature is inconsistent. Loyalty born purely from emotion cannot withstand fear, greed, or opportunity. Therefore, a wise ruler inspires love through fairness and protection, but sustains order through disciplined strength. To be both feared and loved requires mastery over perception. Leaders must appear approachable yet firm, merciful yet decisive. They must show humanity without losing command. The balance is psychological. People should love their leader for his justice and fear him for his determination. When followers believe that kindness will be rewarded but betrayal will be punished, loyalty becomes stable. Machiavelli's insight lies in understanding that emotions in politics or power cannot be trusted on their own. They must be guided. Love alone does not prevent rebellion, but fear alone cannot sustain devotion. The combination of both builds a structure that neither affection nor intimidation can achieve by itself. Machiavelli also believed that this balance mirrors the dual nature of humanity. People are capable of great loyalty and deep betrayal, of compassion and cruelty. A leader must therefore navigate these contradictions with wisdom. He cannot expect gratitude to last forever, nor can he rely solely on punishment. The wise ruler recognizes that people respect strength even when they fear it, but they will only follow strength that feels just. When power is exercised with fairness, fear transforms into respect, and love becomes admiration. This is the highest form of authority, one built on disciplined compassion rather than blind force. In personal and modern contexts, this idea still applies. A leader in any setting, a parent, teacher, manager, or political figure, must balance empathy with firmness. Too much leniency invites chaos, too much strictness breeds resentment. The balance comes from clear communication, consistent standards, and emotional intelligence. People follow those who make them feel secure, not merely those who make them feel comfortable. Love provides unity, but fear provides structure. Together they create a relationship of mutual understanding and stability. The challenge lies in maintaining this balance over time. It requires self-awareness, restraint, and the courage to make unpopular decisions when necessary. Leaders who crave approval often lose authority, while those who reject compassion lose connection. Machiavelli's teaching reminds us that great leadership is not about being liked or feared, but about being respected. Respected for fairness, strength, and wisdom. When love and fear exist together under the rule of justice, power becomes stable, influence becomes lasting, and leadership becomes truly human. The dual nature of power lies at the core of Machiavelli's political philosophy. To him, the greatest leaders were not bound by a single virtue or temperament. They were flexible, capable of embodying both the calm intelligence of the fox and the raw power of the lion. This duality represents the balance between mind and might, wisdom and force. A leader who leans too heavily on strength alone risks becoming brutal, feared but resented. One who relies only on cleverness risks being seen as weak, incapable of commanding respect. Machiavelli understood that survival and success require the ability to move between these two modes, to know when to deceive and when to dominate. The fox represents the art of subtlety. It observes quietly, senses danger early, and finds ways around traps. In the political world, traps are everywhere: deceitful allies, false promises, hidden agendas. The wise ruler studies them all, never acting impulsively. The fox teaches that intelligence and patience can outmaneuver brute power. It survives not because it is the strongest, but because it understands the intentions of others better than they understand its own. Machiavelli admired this ability, for in politics, appearances often matter more than truth. Knowing how to appear harmless while plotting strategically is the essence of political cunning. On the other hand, the lion symbolizes strength, the power to command obedience and to inspire fear when necessary. While the fox's strength lies in intelligence, the lion's lies in presence, the boldness to act decisively, to strike without hesitation when danger looms. A ruler who lacks this kind of strength invites chaos. People may respect intelligence, but they follow strength. Machiavelli believed that leadership without the capacity to enforce authority is hollow. The lion enforces order, demonstrates courage, and reminds both allies and enemies that weakness will not be tolerated. Yet, if strength becomes tyranny, it destroys itself. Power must be controlled, not unleashed recklessly. The dual nature of power, then, is about harmony between these forces. The fox and the lion are not opposites. They are complementary. The fox ensures survival through intellect. The lion ensures respect through force. Together, they form a complete strategy for leadership in an unpredictable world. When fortune shifts and allies betray, the wise leader must think like a fox. When rebellion arises and enemies threaten, he must roar like a lion. The art lies in knowing which one the situation demands. Adaptation, not rigidity, is the mark of a truly powerful ruler. Machiavelli saw that history rewarded those who mastered this balance. Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great, and Lorenzo de' Medici all displayed both fox-like cunning and leonine strength. They used diplomacy and deception as easily as they wielded armies. They understood that morality and survival often conflict, and that the ability to shift between charm and command is what keeps power intact. A leader too focused on virtue may lose to one willing to act ruthlessly when needed. But ruthlessness without wisdom breeds destruction. The balance is delicate, and only a few ever achieve it perfectly. In modern times, the lesson remains timeless. Whether in politics, business, or personal life, success often depends on balancing empathy with assertiveness, patience with decisiveness, humility with confidence. The fox sees the path. The lion clears it. A person who can adapt between the two earns both trust and fear, the two strongest pillars of influence. Machiavelli's insight was not a call to cruelty or deceit, but a recognition of reality. The world respects those who can combine intellect with strength, thought with action, heart with power. The dual nature of power is not merely a strategy. It is the essence of leadership itself. Cunning over naivety defines one of the most crucial lessons in Machiavelli's philosophy. He believed that those who wish to succeed in a world driven by ambition, deception, and self-interest must learn to see through appearances. Naivety, in his view, was a dangerous weakness. Those who believe that others will always act with honesty or goodwill are bound to be deceived. The cunning mind, however, sees the truth behind the mask. It does not fall prey to illusions or moral expectations. It studies human behavior and anticipates betrayal before it happens. Machiavelli taught that a ruler must not simply hope for loyalty, but must expect deceit and prepare for it, because trust without verification is the fastest path to downfall. Cunning does not mean cruelty, it means awareness. The cunning leader knows that every promise, alliance, and smile may conceal a hidden motive. He reads gestures, words, and timing to understand what people truly want. This skill allows him to navigate the dangerous waters of politics or leadership without being trapped. Machiavelli often compared this quality to the fox's intelligence, an animal that survives not through physical strength, but through the sharpness of its instincts. When confronted with danger, the fox does not fight head-on. It retreats, observes, and waits for the perfect moment to act. The cunning leader follows the same logic. He hides his intentions, adapts to change, and strikes when success is certain. Naivety, on the other hand, is the belief that goodness will always be rewarded, that virtue alone can protect a person from harm. Machiavelli rejected this idealism as a fantasy. The world, he argued, does not operate according to moral fairness. It operates according to power, perception, and strategy. Those who cling to purity in a corrupt environment are often destroyed by those who manipulate appearances more effectively. The cunning ruler understands this truth and uses it to his advantage. He may present himself as honest and virtuous, but inside, he plans his moves like a chess player. His kindness is a strategy, not a weakness. This concept extends beyond politics into every area of life. In business, relationships, or competition, the same rule applies. People who are easily fooled by appearances will always be controlled by those who understand them. Cunning individuals think 2 or 3 steps ahead. They anticipate outcomes, study reactions, and know when to speak or remain silent. They never act on impulse. Instead, they plan quietly, disguising their strength behind humility. Naivety reacts. Cunning predicts. The difference between losing and winning often depends on this single skill: the ability to see reality as it is, not as one wishes it to be. Machiavelli also understood that cunning has an ethical paradox. To survive, one may have to lie, manipulate, or hide the truth. But he argued that these actions are not evil if they serve a greater stability or protect the state. What matters is not moral purity but practical success. If deception prevents chaos, then it becomes a form of wisdom. The naive person condemns deception without understanding its necessity. The cunning one uses it with precision, not for cruelty but for control. This is the realism that defines Machiavellian thought. The idea that morality must sometimes bend to the demands of survival. Ultimately, cunning over naivety is not about abandoning morality, but about mastering awareness. It teaches that one must know both light and shadow to move safely through the world. Blind trust leads to disappointment, while sharp observation leads to power. To be cunning is to understand that human nature is complex, that people are guided by ambition, fear, and desire. Recognizing these truths does not make one evil. It makes one prepared. The wise leader, like the fox, does not seek to destroy others unnecessarily, but ensures that no one can destroy him. Strength against fear reveals another essential truth in Machiavelli's understanding of leadership: that authority cannot exist without the perception of power. A ruler or leader who lacks the ability to inspire fear when necessary invites rebellion, manipulation, and disrespect. Machiavelli observed that people are naturally self-interested. They follow rules not out of pure loyalty, but out of a mixture of respect and fear. Therefore, a wise leader must cultivate strength, not just physical or military power, but the strength of will, the capacity to make difficult decisions, and the courage to enforce them. Without this, even the most intelligent strategy fails because it cannot be defended. Fear, in Machiavelli's philosophy, does not mean cruelty for its own sake. It means commanding such respect that others hesitate before betraying or disobeying. It is a shield that maintains order in times of uncertainty. A leader who tries to govern solely through love or kindness risks being taken advantage of by those who mistake gentleness for weakness. Machiavelli famously wrote that it is safer to be feared than loved if one cannot be both. This does not glorify tyranny. It recognizes the practical nature of human behavior. People's love is often conditional and fleeting, but their fear of consequences is constant. Strength must be visible. A leader cannot hide behind words or promises. He must demonstrate power through decisive action. When challenges arise, hesitation erodes credibility. Strength shows itself in moments of crisis. When others panic, the strong remain calm and act with precision. This steadiness builds confidence among followers and doubt among enemies. It sends a clear message that chaos will not be tolerated. Machiavelli believed that a ruler who can project strength maintains control even without using violence, because the mere belief in his capability deters opposition. However, Machiavelli also warned against the abuse of fear. Excessive cruelty or unpredictability turns fear into hatred, and hatred destroys authority. The balance lies in inspiring respect without crossing into brutality. A wise leader punishes only when necessary, and always with reason. Fear must be linked to justice, not chaos. It should make people careful, not desperate. Once followers lose hope or see their leader as a tyrant, their fear turns into rebellion. Thus, true strength includes restraint. Knowing when to act with power and when to show mercy is the mark of a complete ruler. Strength against fear also applies to the inner world of leadership, the strength to conquer one's own doubts and emotions. A ruler who is ruled by fear cannot rule others. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. Machiavelli admired those who could make hard decisions despite uncertainty. Whether leading an army or governing a city, there are moments when hesitation leads to ruin. The leader must act as the lion does, roaring not out of anger but from confidence in his position. Inner strength becomes outer power, radiating through every command and gesture. In modern life, this principle remains just as true. Leaders in business, politics, or personal relationships must understand how to balance kindness with authority. A boss who tries only to be liked may lose respect, while one who leads with fairness and firmness earns lasting loyalty. Strength does not always mean aggression. It means having the will to enforce boundaries, protect values, and stand firm when challenged. Fear, in this sense, is not terror but respect born from reliability and decisiveness. Machiavelli's vision of strength teaches that fear, when guided by justice, stabilizes power. It reminds leaders that compassion without control leads to weakness, while control without compassion leads to collapse. True mastery lies in being both formidable and fair. The leader who can command fear without cruelty and inspire loyalty without dependence achieves the balance that keeps order intact and power unshakable. Adaptability to circumstances is one of Machiavelli's most practical and timeless teachings. He believed that fortune favors those who can change with the times, for the world is in constant motion, shaped by uncertainty, conflict, and opportunity. A ruler who insists on rigid methods in a changing world is doomed to failure. The ability to adapt, to sense when to act with the caution of a fox and when to strike with the courage of a lion, is what separates the wise from the foolish, the survivor from the victim. Machiavelli saw that fortune, or fortuna, behaves like a river that sometimes flows gently and at other times floods violently. Those who prepare their foundations, who anticipate the flood and build barriers, can survive the storm. Those who rely on luck or routine are swept away. Adaptability begins with awareness. A leader must constantly observe the shifts in power, mood, and opportunity around him. The same strategy that worked yesterday may fail tomorrow. Machiavelli emphasized that success depends not only on talent, but on timing, knowing when to act boldly and when to hold back. Those who thrive are those who understand the rhythm of events and move with it rather than against it. Just as nature rewards species that evolve, life rewards those who evolve mentally, politically, and emotionally. Adaptability requires humility, the willingness to accept that no single way of thinking is always right. The leader who clings to outdated beliefs out of pride loses his edge, while the one who learns and adjusts remains powerful. In politics, adaptability can mean the difference between stability and collapse. A ruler must know when to negotiate and when to fight, when to show mercy and when to enforce discipline. Situations are fluid. Allies can become enemies, and enemies can become allies. The wise ruler does not tie himself to ideology, but to effectiveness. This is not hypocrisy, but intelligence. Machiavelli believed that appearances matter more than rigid consistency. A leader must appear stable, but think flexibly, adapting to circumstances while maintaining the illusion of steadfastness. It is through this dual skill, external firmness and internal agility, that lasting power is achieved. Adaptability also extends to dealing with fortune itself. Machiavelli compared fortune to a woman who favors the bold and the prepared. Those who wait passively for good luck rarely receive it. Fortune smiles upon those who seize opportunities with courage and foresight. Yet boldness must be balanced with calculation. Acting rashly can be as fatal as standing still. The key is to act decisively when the moment is right, to sense the pulse of fortune and ride its wave rather than be crushed beneath it. A ruler who understands this rhythm becomes master of change instead of its victim. In modern life, this principle applies to all who seek success in uncertain environments. The adaptable person is not defined by circumstance but by reaction. When faced with failure, he learns and adjusts. When opportunities appear, he moves swiftly without hesitation. Adaptability is not the abandonment of principles. It is the art of applying them wisely in different situations. Just as a sailor adjusts his sails to the wind, a wise person adjusts his methods to reality. The direction may remain the same, but the path must shift. Machiavelli's lesson on adaptability is ultimately about survival through intelligence. Those who resist change out of fear lose their influence. Those who embrace it with awareness gain control over their destiny. Change is inevitable, but defeat is optional. Fortune favors the flexible, the ones who can bend without breaking, who can transform uncertainty into opportunity. In a world that never stops changing, adaptability becomes the truest form of strength, allowing one to remain steady even as everything else moves. Morality of necessity captures one of the most controversial yet profound ideas in Machiavelli's thought. He recognized that in the pursuit of power, survival, and stability, a leader will often face situations where moral ideals conflict with practical needs. To Machiavelli, the world was not guided by purity or justice, but by human nature, driven by fear, ambition, and desire. Therefore, he argued that a ruler must be willing to act against traditional morality when circumstances demand it. This does not mean embracing evil for pleasure, but understanding that sometimes the harsh path is the only path to preserve order and protect a greater good. Morality, in his view, is not fixed. It bends to the needs of reality. The morality of necessity means that actions should be judged by their outcomes rather than their intentions. A ruler who hesitates to act decisively out of fear of appearing cruel may allow greater suffering to occur. A temporary act of deception or punishment may save a state from chaos and preserve the lives of many. In Machiavelli's eyes, virtue without results is weakness, and cruelty with purpose can be wisdom. This principle often shocks those who cling to idealism, yet it reflects the brutal truth of human affairs. Power, like life, is rarely clean. Those who wish to govern effectively must understand when moral rules must yield to the demands of circumstance. For Machiavelli, the appearance of morality was often more useful than morality itself. People judge by what they see, not by what truly is. A wise ruler knows how to appear merciful, faithful, and just, even when he must act ruthlessly behind the scenes. This is not hypocrisy, but strategy. The illusion of virtue keeps the people calm and loyal, while calculated actions behind the curtain secure the foundation of power. By maintaining this duality, the ruler achieves what Machiavelli considered the ultimate goal: stability. The morality of necessity thus serves not to destroy ethics, but to redefine them in terms of function and outcome. This principle extends beyond politics into everyday life. Everyone at some point faces moments where idealism must bow to practicality. A person may have to make difficult choices, telling a painful truth, breaking a promise, or standing firm against popular opinion, not because they enjoy it, but because it is necessary. Machiavelli's teaching reminds us that moral rigidity can sometimes be as dangerous as moral corruption. Those who refuse to adapt their ethics to reality may suffer defeat at the hands of those who do. True wisdom lies not in blind purity, but in knowing when to act beyond convention to protect what truly matters. However, Machiavelli never encouraged reckless immorality. He understood that power built on cruelty for its own sake collapses quickly. The morality of necessity must always be guided by reason and proportion. A ruler should do only what is required, no more. Excessive violence, deception, or ambition leads to instability and rebellion. The great leader, therefore, commits harsh acts sparingly and strategically, ensuring they serve a lasting purpose. Once stability is achieved, mercy and justice must return. This balance between necessity and restraint defines Machiavellian wisdom: power guided by intellect, not by impulse. In a broader sense, the morality of necessity teaches that leadership is a constant negotiation between ideals and survival. Every era, every society, and every individual faces moral tests shaped by circumstance. The choice is not between good and evil, but between what is useful and what is ruinous. The ruler who understands this accepts that sometimes the right decision may look wrong to others, but time will reveal its necessity. Machiavelli's insight endures because it captures the complexity of the human condition, that power, survival, and morality often collide, and only those who can navigate these conflicts with intelligence and purpose achieve lasting greatness. In the end, Machiavelli's timeless wisdom reminds us that true power lies not in force alone, nor in intelligence alone, but in the ability to balance both with precision. To adapt like a fox and a lion means to understand the shifting nature of life, when to think, when to act, when to charm, and when to command. It is a call to embrace the dual nature within us, the intellect that observes and the strength that decides. The leader who learns to combine cunning with courage, strategy with strength, and reason with resilience becomes unshakable. No matter how unpredictable the world becomes, Machiavelli's lessons go beyond politics. They speak to the art of survival and success in every aspect of life. He teaches that adaptability, controlled fear, and calculated morality are not signs of coldness, but of wisdom. The wisdom to protect what matters most in times of chaos. The fox survives by intelligence. The lion conquers by power. But only those who can be both, sharp in thought and strong in action, can truly master their fate. And that is the essence of Machiavellian greatness. Not cruelty, but clarity. Not domination, but discipline. Not manipulation, but mastery over oneself and the world.